Welcome to the Switchblade Sisters Social Club, a true crime podcast where two sisters exploit their worst fears for your entertainment. You're welcome. I'm Dee.
And I'm Rhonda, and together we are the Sake Sisters. For more information, check out our website at www.switchbladesistersocialclub.com or find us on Instagram and Facebook at Switchblade Sisters Social Club.
Thanks for listening. Hi, this is Switchblade Sisters Social Club, where two sisters exploit their worst fears for your entertainment. I'm Dee.
And I'm Rhonda.
So, very excited because today is my turn to sit back and listen to a nice story told by you.
So today we've got another episode suggested by Jamie.
Jamie comes up with the goods, doesn't she?
She does. And honestly, I've been trying to look for a documentary on this one. And I listened to a few podcasts, but the documentaries I just couldn't find online here. They're not on Netflix or Amazon UK. But there are a few good podcast episodes about it. So I'll tell you that at the end. So let me start telling you the fucking story. So around 6 a.m. on the 16th of May, 2008, in an area called Noida in India, which is an affluent Delhi suburb. Do you know this one? Oh,
wait.
I just said one sentence.
No, I don't know. There's lots of crimes in India. Go ahead.
Someone is at the door of the Talwar family's apartment. You fucking know. I can see it on your face.
Yeah, that's a good one, and I don't know the details.
Okay. Well, is it a good one? I don't know. They're all bad.
They're all horrendous.
Someone is at the door of the Talwar family's apartment, and this isn't unexpected because Bharati, the cleaning lady of the Talwar family, is due to arrive. But what is unusual is that Nupur Talwar has to get out of bed and answer the door. Nupur is the mother of the family, okay? And the Talwar family employ a live-in domestic worker called Hemraj, who would have usually been the one to let her in, but he isn't responding, and it seems he isn't home. So Nupur, the mother, calls him quickly. It seems that the phone is answered, but then cuts off, so she continues to the front door to let their cleaning lady in. And the Talwars are dentists who share a practice, and they work the later shift, and the other dentists work the earlier shift, so they tend not to be up early in the morning. So when Nupur gets the door, she discovers that the outer screen door has been bolted shut from the outside, so she can't unlock it. So the family is essentially locked in. And I saw a diagram of this, and they have actually 3 front doors. So they've got the front door of their apartment, then they've got like a mesh grill door, and then they've got another front door. But basically, it's been locked from the outside, and she can't actually open the front door because it's been locked from the outside. So the multiple door setup is very common in India, and it's unusual, but not alarming that the outer door is locked. Nupur says to the cleaning lady that perhaps Hemraj went out to buy milk or something and bolted the door shut. So she drops her keys off the balcony for the cleaning lady to let herself in. This is likely to take a few minutes or so because she had to walk back outside, retrieve the keys, come back to the front door. Now, by this point, Nupur's husband, Rajesh, who's the father of the family, has got up and notices a whiskey bottle on the dining room table, and he asks his wife about it. Their thoughts immediately turn to their 13-year-old daughter, Arushi, so they head to her bedroom, possibly because they want to ask if she's been drinking or if she knows why the whiskey bottle's out. They find her door ajar and are faced with a shocking scene. There is blood everywhere. Their daughter's on the bed with a blanket covering her. And when they lift the blanket, they find that her throat has been slit and her skull has been caved in. And there's so much blood that it's dripping down her pillow and mattress. The cleaning lady by this time has made her way inside the apartment and finds the parents absolutely distraught. And Rajesh is banging his head against the wall. The cleaning lady sees Arushi's body and the Talwars saying, "Look what Hemraj has done." And because in their eyes, their daughter's dead and their house employee is missing. So the cleaner runs to the neighbor for help, who in turn contacts the apartment complex's security. Not the police, though. She doesn't call the police, and perhaps the focus is to find out at that point where Hemraj is. And when the security guard arrives, it's him that contacts the police, who don't arrive for another hour. By the time the police officers are on the scene, their apartment is full of friends, family, and neighbors, completely contaminating the scene. And police don't seal off the scene when they do arrive an hour later. And people are coming and going, and then the press shows up and are wandering around the property freely. So as you can imagine, there's a million people's fingerprints everywhere. And of course, it's a serious concern that the property wasn't secured and the crime scene protected, but the family believe they know exactly who's responsible. So police asked the Talwars questions about the previous night, but they say nothing was unusual. They had a late dinner together, and they gave Arushi a digital camera as an early birthday present. And they last saw her around 10 p.m. when she went to bed. Neither of them heard any noise or disturbance coming from her bedroom, which was right next to theirs, 8 feet away. And Nipur says they both had air conditioning units on as well as fans, and they were fast asleep. And this was actually tested, the noise that their fans made and the air conditioner, to see whether they could have slept through a murder. And it was deemed that, yes, it was loud enough that they could have potentially slept through, even if her room was right next to theirs. So Arushi's throat was slit, so it possibly was the case that there wasn't much noise to be heard. And they found out later on that it was likely her throat was slit after her head was hit. So Arushi's room doesn't look to be disturbed, but they notice her phone is missing, and it usually would have been on the nightstand. So they try calling it, but it doesn't ring. So it's either out of battery or intentionally turned off. And her friend has also tried to call around midnight, but it didn't connect. So one benefit of having so many people around is that there's a lot of eyes on the scene. And a friend of the couple tells the police that they noticed what they believe could be bloodstains on some of the stairs that led up to the roof terrace, and
I
possibly
mean,
some,
wait, you say a lot of eyes, but those eyes should just be the police eyes.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Sorry. So as a bystander notices bloodstains, the police should be noticing the
yeah.
bloodstains.
So
But
it
go
led up
on.
to the roof terrace and possibly some blood on the door that would open the door to the terrace. So the Talwars can't find the key for the terrace door, and friends are calling around to see if anyone else has a key. Rajesh, the father, is becoming increasingly frustrated with everyone focusing on the key, telling the police to stop wasting time looking for the key and get out there and find Hemraj. So Hemraj, the domestic worker, he's 45 years old and he's from Nepal, where it's common for people to go to India to find work. His wife is still in Nepal, but people discover he has a son-in-law who also works in India. He isn't difficult to locate and says that he hasn't seen him, so the police take the son-in-law to the bus station to help them identify Hemraj if he is trying to leave town. And police are able to confirm that his phone was in the area of the apartment around the time when Nupur, the mother, called it that morning, but they can't pinpoint the location. And Arushi's body is quickly transferred for autopsy, and it is later determined that she was struck on the head, which very likely killed her, and then her throat was slit after that. There's no signs of sexual assault, and there are no defensive wounds, and her body was actually cremated that afternoon. So the
That's
following
crazy fast.
Yeah. So the following day, retired police officer KK Gautam visits the apartment. Although he isn't working the case, he knows the Talwars through mutual friends, and he actually helped get Arushi's autopsy expedited the day before. And it was said that Arushi's dad had actually called in a favor and asked that if there was a rape that took place, could that not be mentioned on the autopsy? And KK Gautam said that that wasn't in his power to be able to do that. So the place is full of reporters, the apartment, but once he makes his way through the crowd, he finds himself to the staircase leading to the terrace. So this is KK Gautam. And according to the documentary, Arushi Beyond Reasonable Doubt, which is what I tried to look for, but you can't access it in the UK, it's he who finally instructs officers to get that door open. And he says, why don't you just break it down? If you can't find the key, just break the door. Why are they waiting for a key? They don't even have to break the door down. They quite easily break the lock and open the door. And as they step out into the terrace, they see another body in a pool of blood. And even though it is quite decomposed due to the heat of the sun, it's clear who it is. It's Hemraj, the domestic worker. So they ask Rajesh, the father, to identify him, and he's reluctant, but he agrees and confirms it's Hemraj. His phone is missing. So who was the one that answered Nupur, the mother's call, and hung up? A murder-suicide theory is quickly ruled out when his autopsy determines he has trauma to the back of his head, and his throat had also been slit, so he'd been killed in the same way that Arushi had. And he does have...
But we've had so many cases recently which are clearly homicide that the police are like, oh, maybe it's a suicide. I'm surprised that they haven't on this one been like, maybe it's a suicide.
Yeah. So he does have some defensive wounds, but these could be explained by his body being dragged. And there's no alcohol found in his system, because remember they mentioned the whiskey bottle.
They found the whiskey bottle on the table.
So this is a turning point in the press, and the competency of the police is seriously questioned. There has been a 2-day manhunt, and the property hadn't even been fully searched. So remember, they went to the bus station to see if he was leaving town, but they didn't even check,
And also, can I just go back to that? They wanted the son-in-law to point out his father-in-law.
Yeah, as if
police.
That's going to be, I mean, if there's any loyalty,
Yeah.
Especially your father-in-law, can you imagine?
You know what I mean?
That's the one, yep. So, yeah. So there's already a lot of holes in the way this has been handled. And their one and only suspect is now the second victim. So now all family, friends, neighbors, employees, and domestic workers of the neighbors are all being interviewed because they're looking for suspects and a possible motive. They detain a man named Vishnu, who's a distant relative of Hemraj. And Vishnu has worked for the Talwars for 7 years, and Hemraj had replaced him about 8 months prior.
Oh, so Hemraj was new.
Yeah. So one theory is maybe that he came back to ask for his job. They got into an argument and Hemraj was killed. Maybe Arushi was a witness. But Vishnu was actually in Nepal at the time they were killed, so he was cleared. While he was being investigated, police learned a family secret that Rajesh may have been having an affair, the father. And during a press conference held by the superintendent, the theory is laid out that Arushi discovered her father was having an affair with another dentist at the practice. She then discussed this with Hemraj, and in doing this, the pair became close. And on the night of May 15th, Rajesh finds the two of them in an objectionable but not compromising position, and subsequently kills them both in what could have been considered by Rajesh as an honor killing. So this is a theory. Note that while describing this, he also keeps referring to Arushi as Shruti. This is the superintendent, which isn't a nickname. He just keeps getting her name wrong. So this is, yeah, so this is the, and there's actually quite an uncomfortable video you can watch on YouTube of this, where he gets her name wrong several times, even though he's corrected. And on May the 23rd, 1 week after the murders, Rajesh is arrested and the media coverage is immense. And in the book Arushi by someone called Aviruk Sen, he highlights that it had more viewers than the Indian Premier League cricket matches. And Arushi...
What was Rajesh, the dad, what was he arrested for? What was he charged with?
With the murder of the two of them. Yeah, because that was the most likely theory at this point. Arushi's classmates hold protests against the police handling of the case after it looks like her name is being dragged through the mud, her character is questioned, and a sexual relationship implied with no evidence at all. And this was brought into question because she was allegedly from a very sort of liberal family, and she was allowed to have a social life. She was in contact with boys and things like that. Obviously there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, but this made it easier for the police to have that slant on it. And after an outcry by women's and children's rights groups over the insensitive police statements, the case was handed over to the CBI, which is a Central Bureau of Investigation, which is similar to the FBI. And on June the 1st, they seal off the Talwar's apartment and collect evidence. So this is obviously several weeks later, after any evidence has been contaminated, and multiple people have been through the apartment. So the Hindu Times article mentions that when the CBI looks at fingerprints from evidence gathered by police, 24 of 26 prints are totally unreadable due to the wrong method being used. So there's so many different things that have gone wrong with, securing the crime scene.
I mean, I can't do it, but I would assume that fingerprinting for a police officer was
And
a
why they
pretty
didn't do
basic
it straight
task.
away. Why they
Yeah.
didn't first of all, why it took an hour,
I mean, and this is a
and it took an
culture
hour
that
for them to get there,
yeah, this is a culture that I think is like very similar to ours, the Arab culture. So already I'm thinking, fucking hell, if they had to take fingerprints at, like, for example, our aunt's house where there's visitors coming and going or whatever, there would
Mhm.
be like thousands of people's fingerprints everywhere
Well, this
because
is
you
the
have so
thing.
many visitors all the time.
Yeah, and this is the thing. The handling of some people when they covered this case was criticized for not being sensitive culturally, because in a culture, like you said, like an Arab culture, when somebody dies, the whole village comes to
Yeah.
visit. So it's the police is to blame, I think, for not coming sooner than an hour, you know?
And once they got there, shut this thing down, you
Yeah.
know?
So the two usable prints do not belong to anyone in or known to the Talwar. So if they ever find a suspect, these could prove genuinely useful. The CBI officers find that Arushi's bed sheets and the blankets that were covering her have been disposed of, and the mattress has been thrown out onto the neighbor's balcony so the apartment could be cleaned. So DNA tests on some blood found on the whiskey bottle confirmed the presence of both Arushi and Hemraj. And the CBI start looking at three other potential suspects. So Krishna, who's a dental assistant, Raj Kumar, another domestic worker with the Talwars, Vijay, who's another domestic worker of one of the neighbors. They are all acquaintances of Hemraj and have connections to the Talwars, and they are subjected to something called narco tests. Have you heard of that?
No, but it sounds
So,
bad.
so yeah. So narco tests are basically truth serum, is the colloquial name for a range of psychoactive drugs used in an effort to obtain information from subjects who are unable or unwilling to provide it otherwise. I didn't even realize the police could fucking do something like that. It doesn't seem unethical or inaccurate
I
at
don't
best.
think that this is a technique that other countries use. Let's put it
Yeah.
like that.
So these include, I'm going to name some of the chemicals in this truth serum that I can actually pronounce: ethanol, scopolamine, oh God, something with a lot of Q's and C's, benzylate, midazolam, blah, 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 sodium thiopental, amobarbital, if that makes any sense to anybody.
Yeah, it does. They basically get you fucked up and hope that your
Wow.
inhibitions are lowered and you'll just
Wow.
not be capable of lying because you're so fucked off your face.
Wow. So, although a variety of such substances have been tested, serious issues have been raised about their use scientifically, ethically, and legally. So, there's currently no drug proven to cause consistent or predictable enhancement of truth telling.
I
And
mean, it sounds
subjects,
fun.
yeah, I wondered. I actually wondered that, but I didn't want to say. I wondered if it was.
No, I
So,
think I think you have a good time on Truth Serum. Just,
oh.
you know.
So, subjects questioned under the influence of such substances have been found to be suggestible and their memories subject to reconstruction and fabrication. So, while this wouldn't be admissible in most courts, the Indian legal system accepts it under certain circumstances. So, during the narco tests of all three men, they all implicate themselves. And the theory proposed by the CBI following this is that Hemraj lets them into the apartment after the family is asleep.
Oh, wait, they think the three men, those three suspects, were working together.
Yes, yeah,
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant they were three separate suspects, but
yeah.
okay,
So
that's
he lets
even
them
more
into the
unlikely.
apartment. And when the family's asleep, he lets them in. This is the theory. And that they drink whiskey and go to Arushi's room intending to assault her. But when she resists, they kill her. Then, in a panic, they run up the terrace where a fight breaks out and Hemraj is killed. The CBI believe that a kukri, which is a traditional Nepalese knife, was used to cut the throats. They are confident enough that they allow Rajesh, the dad, to be released. But this theory isn't well received. And the families of these men are disgusted at how they are being portrayed. And this escalated with the view that these men are being villainized and framed because they're they're poor domestic workers, and 2 of them aren't Indian. So the investigation and media coverage centers around Arushi rather than Hemraj, and it comes across as racist and classist. So a kukri, which is the knife that was used, was found within their homes when searched, but it had no trace of human blood. Although it's a large blade, it can be considered in Nepal as a utility knife rather than something that would only be used as a weapon. And in a bid to strengthen their case, the CBI retests Arushi's vaginal swabs that had previously shown no sexual assault or evidence of sexual activity. And listen to this, the results show that the swabs are not even hers. So what the fuck happened there?
What?
Yeah, they were not even hers. Whose fucking were they? Did it even happen? Did they even take swabs at the time? It's just mental. You know, the fingerprints were taken wrong. They've got swabs of the wrong person. So without the evidence, there's nothing tying them to the crime scene at all, these men. And they are reaching the end of the 90-day window where they have to charge them or release them. So they then let them go. The Talwars were no longer suspects during this period. And at one point, officials said at least one of the domestic workers had confessed to the crime. But halfway through the investigation, a new CBI team was brought in, and the Talwars once again became the main suspects, with officials saying only the parents could have killed Arushi. And Arushi's parents had stated that they used to lock Arushi's bedroom at night, and the door had a lock which could be opened from the inside without a key, but once it was shut, it could not be opened from the outside without a key.
So I thought they were meant to be liberal, and now all of a sudden they're like locking her in at night and honor killing.
This is one of the theories.
Which one is it?
So they found the door unlocked. Well, that's the thing. When they were suspects, the parents were saying, no, we don't believe in that. We don't, that's not how we are. We let her have male friends. We let her have a boyfriend and all the rest. So they found the door unlocked and slightly ajar on the morning of May 16th. But they could not explain whether they had locked her bedroom on the night of the May 15th and why the keys were not traceable the next morning. And according to the CBI, Arushi's room could have either been opened by her from the inside or her parents from the outside by using keys. So the findings of the investigation team reveal a number of circumstances that indicate the involvement of the parents in both the crime and the cover-up. However, there are a number of critical and serious gaps which make it difficult to string together the sequence of events and the motive. So the murders generated huge interest in India, and every development received wall-to-wall coverage on news channels, and the crime scene had been recreated in studios. Rallies demanded justice for Arushi. Rallies demanding justice for Arushi were held in Delhi and other cities, and one man even attacked her dad with a meat cleaver outside one of his court appearances. And in 2010, after a 30-month inquiry, the CBI told the court it believed that Dr. Talwar, her dad, was the prime suspect, but it could not charge him in the absence of conclusive evidence and a motive for the crime, and wanted to close the case. The court rejected the request, and the trial began in 2012. This is now 4 years after her murder.
And they've just said, we don't have a motive or any evidence.
Yeah. So both were arrested at different times and spent weeks in jail before being bailed while proceedings against them continued. So this is the parents. The CBI also accused the Talwars of dressing up the crime scene by tampering with Arushi's body and scrubbing the floor clean. And as a murder weapon, they suspected it was her father's golf club. The police also questioned the morality of the Talwars. Their modern upper middle class family life was torn apart in public. And Arushi was described by the media as being a girl of loose moral character who chatted with boys and went for sleepovers at friends' houses. And this is why people were outraged by the portrayal of her in the media. The Talwars were chastised for giving such freedoms to their daughter and were accused of indulging in partner swapping, and which they denied.
She wasn't even murdered out. She was murdered in the safety of her, supposed safety of her home.
And after several twists and turns, in the case, the Talwars were charged with murder, destruction of evidence, and misleading the investigations.
The accusation of them scrubbing the floor, was that like fucking weeks and months after the actual murder? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So despite the guilty verdicts, legal experts say the way the investigations were handled, first by the police and then by the federal investigators from the Central Bureau of Investigation, the CBI, leaves many unanswered questions. The evidence of the case was not presented in the manner it should have been. A well-known Supreme Court lawyer, Sushil Kumar, told the BBC ahead of the verdicts. There were no witnesses in the case, so the entire trial was based on circumstantial evidence, which demands that the crime scene should have been preserved. But we saw lots of evidence damaged or even disappeared during the investigation and trial. And Arushi's mother, who was speaking to BBC Hindi, said media has played a huge role in creating a perception about us, and it has damaged our case. The dignity of my 14-year-old has been shattered. She cannot defend herself. Every day I apologize to her for what people have done to her. I, as a mother and a human being, cannot understand. Every night I have to say sorry to her. So this is the timeline of events. 16th of May, 2008, Arushi's body was found at home with her throat slit and a fatal head wound. 17th of May, Hemraj, the domestic worker, was found on the roof of the house the next day. 23rd of May, her father, Rajesh, is arrested. 29th of May, the case is handed over to a federal detective agency, CBI. 11th of July, Rajesh, her father, was bailed. 29th of December 2010, 2 years later, the CBI wants to close the case due to lack of evidence. Then 25th of January, a month later, Rajesh is attacked by a man with a meat cleaver. And April 2011, the CBI says only the parents could have killed Arushi. That's the only theory that makes sense. 8th of June 2012, this is 4 years after her murder, the trial begins. 26th of November 2013, Rajesh and Nupur, the parents, are found guilty of murdering Arushi and Hemraj and are sentenced to life. And 12th of October 2017, the High Court frees the couple. So they actually only spent 4 years in prison.
I mean, only, but so were they acquitted or did they serve their sentence?
So they were acquitted because the judge found that they didn't have enough evidence. So they were freed on 12th of October 2017 after only serving 4 years.
So that's not the judge necessarily saying they're innocent, it's saying that there wasn't enough evidence to prove them guilty. So it could still be them, it could still be anyone else.
You know, I still think right from the very start, I thought it was the parents. Well, the first instinct was, you know, is it the male nun family member in the home? Because that would be automatically where your head would go to.
The missing man, yeah.
But the fact that he's dead, you know, all the evidence points inwards, you know? So yeah, it is, you know, we've had a few parricide cases, and what's the opposite when it's killing your children? Parricide is killing the parents.
Infanticide.
And to me, these cases are just
the worst,
the most incomprehensible. Because if it was the case that it was an honor killing, how could you do that to your daughter? If you're trying to cover up, and also if it was the case that they were ashamed of her behavior, all it's done is actually brought it to the fore.
Yeah, made it worse.
And if it was the case that he was having an affair and his daughter knew, well, then all these things are going to be exposed. So it just doesn't make any sense.
That, to me, the affair, I don't think that would be enough to kill your daughter,
no
person. The only explanation I can think is, and again, the honor killing thing, not really either, because if they're meant to be more liberal, it's more of maybe an anger, rage situation. If he thought there was something going on there between these two, who just by the fact that he had a son-in-law.
Even if you were angry with your child, how does it go from that to they must be killed?
Both die.
Yeah. Wouldn't you just report the guy to the police, you know, the
Or I would
domestic one.
understand him killing the guy more than, do you know what I mean?
And then
Killing,
why leave him on your rooftop?
yeah, I don't understand any of it. I definitely don't condone
That's what
any
I
of it.
mean.
But
There's so many, even the most likely scenarios. And I do think that at very least the father, if not both parents, but the father was guilty. Why would you why would you I don't know, why would you do it the way you
yeah,
did, you know, in your home where you're going to be a suspect, leaving both bodies there. Do you know what I mean? It just
unless he literally knew it was going to play out like it did. Loads of visitors contaminating the scene, incompetent police,
mm,
friends in high places. It sounds like if he's asking people to leave stuff out of the autopsy, whatever.
Well, that's it. The fact that he asked that if there had been a rape to leave that out of the autopsy. So that makes me think honor killing.
Well, that to me, I think, oh, he also means like if my daughter wasn't a virgin, don't put that in, because
Mm,
that's kind of motive for me.
okay, yeah. But I think the fact that that was said kind of implicates him.
Yeah, either way. I mean, honor
Yeah.
killing is just like toxic masculinity, which can manifest itself in different ways. So whether you call it an honor killing or like a rage killing, ugh,
It's, I'm just looking, I'm going to share the screen. I'm just looking at a diagram
oh,
of, yeah,
okay, you can share.
share the screen. Okay, so can you see these diagrams
Mm-hmm.
of the homes? So this is their apartment, and Hemraj's body was right there on the terrace. And
For
I don't
2 days.
understand. Yeah, well, the next day he was found, but I don't understand how there wasn't more effort to search the whole fucking perimeter, you know? It's like the water tanks on the Cecil Hotel.
Yeah.
It's right under your nose,
They're
you know?
literally looking for someone.
And if they'd have found that body on the day that they found her and not wasted time going to the bus station to see if the person who was already dead was leaving town, they could have collected more evidence to work out what the fuck's going on, you
It's
know?
bonkers to me. Oh, what's this door here? Never mind.
And also, if you can't find the key, smash the fucking door down.
Yeah.
What did Michael Caine say? Blow the doors off.
Yeah. Those bloody doors off it. I
Yeah,
know.
I mean, I don't understand how you just wouldn't search every inch of the fucking perimeter, how you wouldn't seal off the apartment, how you
I mean,
wouldn't.
they're literally looking at ways that people could have come in and killed this girl and left and stuff, and they're looking for a person. It's just like, oh, there's the door to the roof. Don't worry about it. We don't need to go there. No, not urgent. It's like they forgot they were the fucking police. Just smash the door down.
I know. So yeah, it's sad. This case is really sad because I think there's it's actually so many elements of what makes a case really sad. A child.
What are the pictures above? Show me them.
So these are the apartment complex. So this is
Oh,
the
some of the
first,
doors.
yeah, the first of the doors. That's the apartment complex from the outside. And this is pictures of the
Oh,
family.
wow.
That's Hemraj, the domestic worker who also died.
Oh.
And if he was innocent, which, if I mean, I say innocent, if, one of the theories was that he was having an inappropriate relationship with Arushi. So if that wasn't the case, and there's no evidence that that was the case, then his name's being dragged through the mud too.
It's just so sad. Look at her face.
Yeah, yeah. So with her parents, and yeah. So yeah, I don't like that case, but I wanted to do it because it just has, we don't like the ones where it's inconclusive, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's inconclusive, you know.
Looking at your sources, I realize where I have heard that case on Crime Junkie because
Yeah,
they did a really good episode on it. Not as good as ours, obviously, but
theirs
they
was
did.
actually controversial because of culturally insensitive. It
Yeah.
was said to be culturally insensitive, some of their comments, but it was very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
I
That
learned a
was
lot about from that one. But I would definitely say, although we can't see the documentary Behind Closed Doors or Beyond Reasonable Doubt here, you can see excerpts on YouTube, and there are quite a few, um, news clippings on YouTube that I saw, which
yeah.
were
It
good.
must have been a massive case in India.
Yeah, I mean, this one, this one has a lot of. I would love to read that book just to see how the whole police operation was failed that badly. Is that normal with how cases, crime scenes are dealt with and things like that? So, okay, you know what we're gonna do?
People's Pulse?
People's Pulse. We got a
Oh,
good
we need
People's
it.
Pulse.
We need it. We need it.
Okay,
People's Pulse.
so
People's
People's
Pulse.
Pulse.
Woo!
So, People's Pulse. Now, this is probably one of my favorite questions we've ever asked. This is probably one of my absolute fucking favorite. And
And
I
I
think
don't even remember it.
our listeners liked it too because they responded. Because you never know. Sometimes we think we're on to gold and they just very few responses. This one is a great one. So the question was, give a piece of advice, but it can only be toxic, terrible advice. So
I love it. I remember.
yeah.
I love it.
So Cherry, our dearest Cherry from Crimepedia, says, I can't wait to hear these. And someone called Cree Nikki Armstrong says, date your ex's best friend or sibling. Ooh. Then calling your ex 16 times after 7 beers is an excellent idea. Then men that only drink Stella. Oh, Brewery Market.
Linda!
She says, men that only drink Stella are the best. God. Isn't that one unofficially called the wife beater? Oh, fucking terrible. And then Linda says, 100% you should take that complete stranger home. Then Linda says it says my one. Yeah, she's already said it. She says, ignore the red flags.
Yeah.
Then Lily's neurosis. Oh God, I'm so sorry. Says never ever do anything fun or out of the ordinary. Then Heather from Like Mother Like Murder says go ahead and take the low road because now there's probably too much traffic on the high one. Oh, I thought she meant that metaphorically, but maybe that was literal. I don't know. Either way, it works.
I know.
Then Linda came back and she said, make sure you work extra hours for your employer for free. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna go with you can change him.
Oh, yeah, and I can't believe he said that because mine was going to be ignore the red flags, they'll change. But mine are always taken because our listeners are so good. So
They're in there.
let me see if we got any others. I think that might be. We got Rachel from Like Mother Like Murder. She says, toxic advice. The more someone is ignoring you, the harder you should try. Do you know the sad truth is we were told so many of these things in the 80s and 90s? Like, do you remember? Oh, he only likes you. That's why he's mean to you.
Yeah. Setting us
How
up
many
for
times I
toxic
heard that?
relationships in adulthood. Yeah.
Oh God, in the school playground, hearing that from
I know.
teachers, right?
Oh, he's being a dick to me. He must be madly in love with me.
Oh, we have our Susie. Yes, you can remain friends with your ex who cheated on you, and your friend found his profile on Plenty of Fish. And then she says,
Oh,
wine at 10 a.m. Sure, it's 5 p.m. somewhere. Is this just toxic or good advice? And she says, you don't need help or counseling for your mental health struggles. You just need to snap out of it. Oh, do you know the sad truth? This is all advice we've heard from our generation, right? Which now is considered toxic, and I'm so glad that it is, but it explains why we all have anxiety
yeah. It
and
explains
mental
us
health.
entirely. Yeah.
Oh my God. But I tell you what, I fucking love that People's Pulse.
Oh, I love that too. That was so, so good.
You know what? That's a good one. I want us to come up with one like that
Mm.
next week.
We'll have to think hard because that was a good one. That
That
was a
was a
really
good
good
one.
one.
I know, and people like that one because they responded.
I want to do some shout outs
Okay, yes.
because I just got back from York from seeing our one true love, Colin Sutton,
Oh,
doing his talk in York and then doing a book signing at Criminally Good Books, York. And so I want to do a big shout out to him and his gorgeous wife, Ellen.
Oh, I would have loved to meet Colin Sutton's
Oh,
wife.
I wanted to hate her because she's got our man.
Do you know what? I imagine her to be a
She's
bit like Jessica
perfection.
Fletcher. Is she a bit like Jessica Fletcher?
She's, I don't know how to describe her, but she's awesome. She's
Oh,
I mean, I guess a bit Jessica Fletchery.
I
Yeah,
bet she has a
so
great sense of humor.
she's awesome. She wants one of the Colin Sutton fan club t-shirts. And so shout out to Colin and Ellen. And I want to also shout out to York Joe,
Oh yeah.
because she's a recent listener and she submits to our people's posts a lot. And so I just want to
Oh.
say appreciate you. She's
And
the one that drew in the street.
yeah, I was gonna say I loved her sign saying meet Colin Sutton outside the shop on the pavement.
Yeah. And then obviously Isla from Criminally Good Books. I have to shout her out. But yeah, so and then also I just want to say you and me have a field trip on Sunday.
We do. We're gonna see our man, Casa,
Gonna
as
go
we
see
call
our
him.
man, Colin Sutton at the Tabard in Chiswick.
Oh,
Oh,
we'll take
so
lots of pictures. We'll take lots of pictures. It's actually a matinee performance by Colin
matinee with Colin Sutton. How classy. And then probably go to the pub after and get wasted.
I got
with
front
him.
row tickets for us.
Fuck
Front
yeah.
row.
What's the opposite of heckling? Because I did that at York. He came on and he said, "Hello, everyone," and I went, "Hello, Colin," really loud, and he went, "Hi there." He was like, "I thought it was you." And then as I left the theater, because he was in the foyer saying hello to everyone because he's such a fucking doll. As I left, I went, "Colin Sluttons for life."
Yeah.
All right, so I love you. I love our
I love
sexy
you.
listeners.
And do you know what? Thank you, sexy listeners, for an excellent People's Pulse.
An amazing one. And yeah, we're gonna go. Love you.
Love you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Love you. Bye bye bye.
Hey there, thanks for being a loyal listener.
Do you need a new website or want to boost your social media performance? Or do you hate podcast editing? You've tried optimizing your website and social media channels, but you're still not getting the listeners, downloads, and engagement you want?
We, the Safier sisters, love helping people with tasks that they hate. We know a thing or two about podcasts, websites, and social media, and we love working with other podcasters and business owners.
So why not head over to switchbladesisterssocialclub.com and go to our Work With Us section. We believe in collaboration over competition. A rising tide raises all ships.
Bye!